The squeak of my mop was the soundtrack to my insignificance. 5 years ago, I, Mark Olson, 32, a divorced guy just trying to make ends meet, was the invisible man at Titan Tech. Now, let's just say the view from Richard's old corner office is a hell of a lot better than the view from the supply closet. And the scotch, oh, the scotch. Richard always had the good stuff. Ironic, isn't it? Yeah, Richard Harding, the Golden Boy CEO, knew my name. Mostly to bark orders like, Olson, spill in aisle 7, or to make sure his imported Italian loafers stayed spotless. He and his cronies, Josh Miller, VP of Marketing, all slicked back hair and empty promises, and Brenda Sterling, the Ice Queen CFO, a woman who could freeze hell with a single glare. They ran Titan Tech like their own personal playground. And I was just the guy who cleaned up after their messes. Literally. I remember the day I first approached Richard with my idea. I'd been working on this algorithm, a new approach to data encryption. Titan Tech was hemorrhaging money because of security breaches. They were patching holes with Band-Aids while the real cancer was spreading. I saw it, the cracks in their firewall, the vulnerabilities they were ignoring. My ex-wife, Sarah, used to say I had a knack for seeing things others missed, both in code and in people. Turns out, she was right about both. I spent weeks refining the code, nights fueled by lukewarm coffee and the burning desire to actually contribute something meaningful. I even printed out a formal proposal, complete with charts and projected cost savings. Naive, right? I even secretly hoped, well, let's just say I had a stupid crush on Brenda back then. Her sharp mind, her ruthless efficiency. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I impressed her, she'd see me as something more than just the janitor. I caught Richard on his way to the golf course, his face already flushed with anticipation and probably several martinis. I presented my proposal, my hand trembling slightly. He barely glanced at it. Olson, he said, his voice dripping with condescension. I appreciate you thinking outside the box, but stick to what you're good at. Keeping this place clean. Data security is a bit above your pay grade, wouldn't you say? He crumpled the proposal and tossed it in the trash, right next to my feet. Josh and Brenda, who were trailing behind him, erupted in laughter. The sound still echoes in my head sometimes. But Brenda's laughter, it felt different. Almost forced? I dismissed it then, chalked it up to her general coldness. But later, I understood. That was the moment something snapped. Not in a dramatic, Hollywood kind of way. It was a slow, cold burn, like a digital ice age spreading through my veins. I realized that my worth wasn't defined by their perception of me. I wasn't just a janitor. I was a problem solver, a creator. And I was going to prove it. And maybe, just maybe, make Brenda regret that laugh. I quit the next day. I walked out of Titan Tech, the smell of industrial cleaner clinging to my clothes, a sense of quiet determination hardening my gaze. I maxed out my credit cards, sold my beat-up Honda Civic, and poured every last cent into building Phoenix security. My garage became my office, my bedroom my boardroom. Ramen noodles became my gourmet meals. I remember the first few months. Doubt gnawing at me, the constant fear of failure whispering in my ear. My ex-wife, Sarah, bless her heart, thought I was having a midlife crisis. She'd call, offering to help me get back on my feet, which translated to finding another dead-end job. I appreciated the concern, but I knew this was something I had to do, for myself. And to prove Sarah wrong. Divorce does things to a man. There were nights I wanted to give up, to crawl back to Titan Tech, beg for my old job back. But then I'd remember Richard's face, the dismissive wave of his hand, the way he made me feel like I was nothing. And that fueled me more than any caffeine ever could. And that almost laugh from Brenda. That stayed with me too. I wasn't alone though. I had Lisa. I met Lisa Rodriguez while I was cleaning the break room at Titan Tech. She was a junior programmer, quiet, brilliant, and just as overlooked as I was. We bonded over shared lunches and whispered conversations about our aspirations. She saw something in me that no one else did. Or so I thought. Lisa became my sounding board, my confidant, my rock. She helped me refine my algorithm, beta test my software, and navigate the complex world of venture capital. She even invested her meager savings into Phoenix security, a gesture I'll never forget. Or so I thought. The turning point came when a major retail company, Targeted Ads Incorporated, suffered a massive data breach. Titan Tech's security system failed miserably. I saw my opportunity. I cold called the CEO of Targeted Ads Incorporated, pitched my solution, and landed a meeting. Within a week, Phoenix Security was their new security provider. Word spread like wildfire. Companies were clamoring for Phoenix Security's innovative solutions. We were disrupting the industry, eating Titan Tech's market share one client at a time. My little garage startup was suddenly a major player. Richard, meanwhile, was panicking. Titan Tech's stock was plummeting. Shareholders were breathing down his neck. He was desperate to stop the bleeding. That's when I received the email, an invitation to discuss a potential acquisition of Phoenix Security by Titan Tech. I almost laughed out loud. The irony was too delicious. I even considered sending Richard a mop as a gift. But nah, that's too obvious. I agreed to the meeting, but on my terms. I booked a conference room at a neutral location, a high-end hotel overlooking the city. I wanted them to sweat. I wanted them to feel the pressure I had felt for so long. I made sure the minibar was stocked with the cheap scotch. Richard, Josh, and Brenda arrived looking like they'd aged 10 years. Their smiles were strained, their eyes darting nervously around the room. I sat at the head of the table, calm and collected, radiating an aura of quiet confidence. I even wore a suit that probably cost more than Richard's Italian loafers. "Richard," I said, my voice devoid of any emotion, "to what do I owe the pleasure?" He launched into a carefully rehearsed speech about synergy, market share, and mutual benefit. I let him talk, watching him squirm, savoring the moment. He even tried to appeal to my sense of loyalty to Titan Tech. Loyalty. The irony was so thick you could spread it on toast. "Let's cut the crap, Richard," I interrupted. "We both know why we're here. Titan Tech is sinking, and Phoenix Security is your only lifeline." Josh scoffed. "Don't flatter yourself, Olson. Titan Tech is an industry leader." I corrected him. Past tense. "Now, let's talk numbers." I played hardball. I knew they were desperate. I squeezed every last concession out of them. I wanted everything. A premium price for Phoenix Security, guarantees for my employees, and a complete overhaul of Titan Tech's outdated security infrastructure. I even demanded they reinstate the free coffee in the break room. Lisa always complained about that. Then, I dropped the bomb. "There's one more condition," I said, my voice barely a whisper. Richard leaned forward, his eyes narrowed. "And what's that?" "I become the CEO of Titan Tech." The room fell silent. Richard sputtered, Josh choked on his water, and Brenda's jaw dropped. For the first time, I saw genuine shock on her face. Not the calculated coldness she usually wore. This was different. "That's insane." Richard finally managed to choke out. "Impossible, is it?" I countered, a slow smile spreading across my face. "The shareholders seem to think it's a pretty good idea, considering you've driven the company into the ground. They're tired of your golf outings and your lavish bonuses. They want someone who knows what they're doing. And I have their votes." That wasn't entirely true, but it sounded good. He was furious. His face turned a shade of purple I didn't know existed. He threatened legal action, accused me of blackmail, and generally threw a childish tantrum. But it was all bluster. He knew he was cornered. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. The vote was held the following week. The board was deadlocked. Until Lisa spoke. She stood up and addressed the board, her voice clear and confident. She spoke about my vision, my dedication, and my unwavering commitment to data security. She reminded them that I was the only one who saw the cracks in Titan Tech's armor, the only one who had a plan to fix them. And then, she revealed that she was a shareholder herself, having secretly acquired a significant stake in the company over the past few years. A significant stake, financed by Titan Tech's own stolen funds, funneled through offshore accounts. That's what I later learned, anyway. Her words swayed the tide. The vote swung in my favor. I was officially the new CEO of Titan Tech. I saw a subtle, almost imperceptible nod pass between Lisa and Brenda. That should have been my first clue. The look on Richard's face as he was escorted out of the building by security was priceless. Josh and Brenda followed soon after, their careers seemingly in ruins. The Golden Trio was no more. Or so I thought. I walked into Richard's old office, the corner suite with the panoramic view. I sat in his leather chair, the same chair he had sat in when he dismissed me, when he crushed my dreams. I looked out over the city, the glittering skyline stretching out before me. I took a sip of Richard's scotch. It tasted like victory. They laughed at me. They dismissed me. They treated me like I was nothing. But I knew my worth. I knew what I was capable of. Now, who's laughing now? But the story doesn't end there. Taking over Titan Tech was just the beginning. The company was a mess, riddled with corruption and incompetence. The infrastructure was outdated, the employees demoralized. I had a lot of work to do, and I was completely blind to the game being played right under my nose. First, I cleaned house. I fired the dead weight, promoted the deserving, and instilled a new culture of innovation and accountability. I invested heavily in research and development, rebuilt the security infrastructure from the ground up, and implemented my data encryption algorithm. I even gave Lisa a huge bonus as a thank you for her support. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, challenges, and moments when I doubted myself. But I persevered, driven by the memory of Richard's condescending smile and the unwavering support of Lisa and my team. Or so I thought. Within a year, Titan Tech was back on top. The stock price soared, the company was profitable again, and the employees were energized and engaged. I had transformed a failing giant into a thriving powerhouse. I was on the cover of Forbes. I was the golden boy now. And Richard? He faded into obscurity. He tried to start another company, but his reputation was tarnished. No one wanted to invest in him. He became a cautionary tale, a symbol of arrogance and hubris. I saw him once, begging for change outside the Titan Tech building. I almost felt bad. Almost. Sometimes, I'd see him around town, looking haggard and defeated. I always made sure to make eye contact, to let him know that I hadn't forgotten. But the truth was, I barely thought about him anymore. He was irrelevant. I had bigger things to worry about. Revenge is a dish best served cold, they say. But honestly, the sweetest revenge was proving him wrong, not just for myself, but for everyone who had ever been underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed. My success isn't just about money or power. It's about proving that anything is possible if you have the passion, the determination, and the courage to chase your dreams, even when everyone else tells you that you can't. And yeah, a little bit of revenge doesn't hurt either. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. The real story. The one that took me years to piece together. Richard wasn't the villain. He was just a pawn. A flawed, arrogant pawn, but a pawn nonetheless. The real masterminds? Brenda and Lisa. They had been working together for years. Brenda, the cold, calculating CFO, and Lisa, the quiet, brilliant programmer. They saw the cracks in Titan Tech's system long before I did. They knew Richard was incompetent. They knew the company was vulnerable. And they had a plan. My algorithm? Lisa subtly altered it, embedding backdoors that allowed them to siphon off funds, manipulate data, and ultimately, orchestrate the very breaches that crippled Titan Tech. They used me. My ambition, my desire for revenge, my affection for Brenda. It was all fuel for their fire. Lisa's investment in Phoenix Security? It was Titan Tech money, stolen by Brenda and funneled through offshore accounts. It was a calculated risk, designed to make me believe I was building something on my own. The targeted ads breach? Orchestrated by Lisa, using the backdoors in my algorithm. It was the perfect opportunity to showcase Phoenix Security and propel me to success. My appointment as CEO? Part of their plan all along. They knew I was idealistic, naive, and easily manipulated. They knew I would clean up the company, making it even more profitable for them to exploit. After I took over, Brenda subtly started emptying company bank accounts, taking huge loans under the company's brand, and moving all assets to offshore accounts. She then vanished with Lisa, of course, leaving behind only a note. I was left to take all the blame. So who's laughing now? Probably Brenda and Lisa, sipping cocktails on a beach somewhere, counting their millions. Richard, well, he may have gotten his life back as well. He was spotted with Brenda some time later, enjoying their share of the money. My story isn't one of triumph. It's a cautionary tale. A story about being so blinded by revenge that you fail to see the strings being pulled. A story about being used, manipulated, and ultimately destroyed by the very people you trusted. And now, cleaning up the mess they left behind, I realize the squeak of my mop is still the soundtrack to my insignificance. The view from the corner office isn't so great when you know the building is about to collapse. The cold revengers? Me. Target? Find Brenda and Lisa and get my money back. The game begins. Again.